Like, what was your mindset in your mid-20s? Like, back then, did you believe that you would become successful in real estate and be coaching and doing all these things?
I had a problem asking people for help. Simple things. How do you reach out to people maybe you've built relationships for that are doing things above you?
You felt like a burden to people, probably.
Correct.
I had the same thing.
So syndicators, who had never done syndication before, are now apparently experts. And so they went out there and they're chasing returns and they're buying these deals. And I'll be first, we were one of them on one of our deals. Thankfully, we are now in a position where we got out of that. But
how?
So we had a deal in Texas. We were about 60% done with the renovations.
Okay.
Things were going well. Rates began to go up.
Yeah.
So now I'm watching our debt service go from $40,000 a month to over $93,000 a month. Although we weren't moving fast enough on the renos and we weren't getting to where we needed to be from an occupancy standpoint, knew we had to refi. I'm like, we have to refi by the middle of this year or we're FUCK. So I called my business partners and I said, guys, I said, what do we do? I said, here's the situation. And they said, Justin, are you willing to move out there for a little bit?
I didn't know. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of On the Come Up podcast. I'm your host, Chris Luna. Today we got Justin Bernnan in the studio. It's actually his studio. Thanks for getting us in here today, Justin.
Yeah, we weren't sure how we were going to do this, but I appreciate we wanted to do this for a long time, me coming on your podcast and talking about things. And we literally just finished this studio, which was always a vision of mine. It's a mini studio in San Diego.
Yeah.
To have more officially fish podcasts.
Well, I love that you're setting goals, you're attacking them, you're getting after it. We're here, you're creating a awesome reality for you, your kids, Kate. We'll get into that later. But yeah, the show's called On the Come Up, and I never really, usually I just dive in when we start going into it, but I want to kind of explain the show. The show's On the Come Up, and a lot of people see Chris Luna, the finished product. I'm not finished. I'm still going. They see you, right? They see this version of you, but they didn't see the Justin from when he was in his mid-20s and, when he was on the come up, when he was making it, creating a name for himself. And so I really want to give the audience a vision into like what you were thinking in your 20s when you were trying to create wealth and basically you on the come up. So we're going to go way, way back.
It's been a journey of as it always is. I was actually, before we even came on this podcast, I was watching Cody Sanchez, and she had a video, a little reel came out, and she says, listen, man, I know I'm up here on stage talking about all these things, and you're kind of seeing the finished product of all these years, and I have this portfolio of companies. But if you don't think I'm getting kicked in the nuts every day as an entrepreneur, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
And if you think it's easy, whoever's told you that's full of shit. And it's hard, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And so, I mean, I get it. It's a grind and it's a battle every day. And even when you've made it, you haven't made it because things are going to happen because more money, more problems.
More money, more problems.
As they say.
Spot on.
But you have to enjoy the process of it.
Yeah.
And understand that it is part of the process. And as you gain wealth and maybe gain profile and gain notoriety and have all these successes, with that is going to come sometimes some bigger problems. But you have to realize you can solve them and you work through them step by step. So I thought that was a great lead in because I kept thinking about that as you were asking the question. But I mean, I came up in real estate a little bit in San Diego. Learning from, I'm kind of a third generation real estate person along with my brother and my sister before she had passed. But my brother, we're all in real estate and we learned first from our grandmother, who was the original OG. And she was, hammering away till she was 91 years old, owning apartments and stuff.
In San Diego?
In San Diego.
Do you know how many units?
She didn't have a ton of units. She was probably less than 50.
That's still
But
cool.
They were 100% owned.
Yeah.
Right.
Free and clear.
With free and clear.
Yeah.
No debt.
That's nice.
Right. And she's driving around at 90 years old in her little S10 Chevy truck, collecting rent like a little Italian woman, but we learned a lot of that growth and wealth and stuff from her. And she taught my dad and gave my dad the chance to then learn it and grow up through it. And he was kind of the transitional character because while she did pretty well for herself, my dad was like the guy that really made it.
Mm.
But then he also lost it.
Oh wow.
So
We're gonna talk about that
all
later.
the above.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from him. And I've seen poor. We've been poor, we've been rich. I've seen it both. I've seen poor, rich, poor. So we've seen it all, right? The top and the bottom. And so you appreciate things. You understand the value of the grind. Was never a trust fund silver spoon kid. So my dad was really good at teaching us the value of a dollar.
I love that. They say the first generation makes it. Maybe I think the second generation keeps it and the third generation loses it. It's something like that. I'm just happy that you haven't lost it.
Well, no, and yeah, I haven't gone bankrupt. Haven't lost it. But at the same time, I think because you've seen some things, I've seen money do good things. I've seen money do bad things. I learned recently in the last probably 12 months, some limiting beliefs that I had created.
Yeah.
As a result of my upbringing, my surroundings, my experiences with money, good and bad, and stuff it was creating in my brain for myself. So, and then it can actually hold you back if you don't realize what it's doing to you.
And I know we spoke when I was on your podcast about some things you're doing to help with those limiting beliefs. I think one of them was the hypnosis.
Yeah, the hypnotic reprogramming.
I can tell
that's some wild crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
some
been
wild
good for you.
stuff. It has been incredible for me.
You seem like a very clear-minded person. Would you describe yourself as that?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been driven and focused and able to take complex things and simplify them.
Yeah.
And very task-oriented. But I would say I can calm myself now because I think faith has helped with that.
Yeah.
Getting closer to faith. I know the hypnotic reprogramming has done that. It's kind of switched my mind from, how can I, or can I should say more like, can I do that, to how can I do that?
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Simple little tweak of words.
Yeah.
I love that.
In changing framework of mind from, I have to do that to I get to do that.
That's good.
And removing limiting belief systems that were there that I was completely unaware of, from I had a problem asking people for help. Simple things. How do you reach out to people maybe you've built relationships for that are doing things above you? And you're like, listen, man, do you know anybody that can help me out with this? I'd always had a problem with that simple thing.
You felt like a burden to people, probably.
Correct.
I had the same thing.
Because I hadn't built that relationship capital in my mind. So having met Jeff Fenster and then going in and
got the book in
hand. Man, I got all tabbed and everything, but meeting him and experiencing kind of how that relationship capital game works.
Yep.
And then the hypnotic reprogramming, from removing that stuff to saying, no, you're worthy. And it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
You need to obviously build that relationship bank account. You can't just be a taker. You got to be a giver too.
Be a giver. Yeah.
And then also removing the limiting belief I'd had around thinking things were always going to be hard for me. And that we found out that stemmed from early childhood and a learning disability.
Yeah.
Like when I did the hypnosis and we went in, like we tracked it all the way back to when I was about 6, 7 years old. And when we had found out I had a learning disability, and then that triggered a lot of things of, learning's going to be hard. Money's going to be hard. Life's going to be hard. You're always going to have to work harder. You're always going to have to do this harder. You're always going to have to give extra.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to come easy.
Yeah.
And so it cemented this triggering belief system. So therefore, everything's going to be harder for you, Justin.
And then also like self-fulfilling prophecy, like your brain is probably looking for things to prove yourself right. Because since you think everything is going to be hard in life, you want to prove to yourself right.
Well, yeah, you create it.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it. And you'll put yourself in situations. And then because your mind's thinking a certain thing.
Yeah.
As we all know, your mind will create that in reality. Because it's sending people what I had to learn was the power of frequency.
What's
Have
that?
you ever, meaning, you want to be rich,
Okay.
right? I want to be a multimillionaire.
Okay.
Great. Well, you can say it. I want to be a multimillionaire. And by doing that, I'm sending a frequency for my energy, my body, out to the universe.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like that's step one. And it's cute.
Yeah.
But what they miss is
action.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they miss alignment in opportunities that they don't recognize. because you'll send the frequency out. But let's say we leave here from this podcast and I go down and I want to be a multimillionaire in real estate. But let's say I didn't know much about real estate at that point. And now I go down to the Starbucks 5 minutes from now and I'm sitting down having a cup of coffee and somebody walks in and sits down next to me, maybe like this, but I'm paying attention. I'm on my phone. I'm doing this stuff. And I hear him on the phone. He's talking about some real estate deals that he's doing, and he's looking for partners or he's looking for people to help him and all stuff. And you see what's happening? I sent it out to the universe, the frequency aligned. Then now the universe is bringing me an opportunity that I'm not recognizing as an opportunity. They're sitting right next to me at a coffee shop, talking about real estate. The guy's on the phone saying, I need people to partner with. I need people to find deals. I need people to do this. I need people to do that. He's talking about, I'm trying to find this person to do that. And I don't speak up. I lost opportunity.
Yeah.
You see, like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
But you didn't recognize it. You asked the universe for it. The universe gave it to you in the form of a small frequency, and you did not take action on it.
Yep.
That's the difference between people.
And I love that. Some people won't speak up because of the limiting belief, the fear of judgment.
Correct.
I used to have this problem.
What's the worst thing they say? Fuck off.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but
on
that's
Zoom.
the worst. That's the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Or they say, oh, like that's, but you already have that. Meaning you're already fucked off.
Yeah.
Because you have nothing.
Yeah.
So you might as well ask and talk and see if something happens and add value.
Question for you. In your multifamily education platform, because I know this to be true for me, I was in Grant Cardone's real estate club, and often, this is before I had a problem with public speaking, I couldn't speak up. I would take in the info, I'd listen, I'd laugh, I engage, but when it came time for raise your hand and ask questions, I wouldn't ask questions.
At an event?
At an event in person and on Zoom calls. So my question for you is, do you see that, certain people on your calls that you run are scared to talk? Because I know at my program, sometimes I see people don't want to talk.
Yeah. So the way around that is teeing up a prerequisite question where I say, hey, I had another student ask this recently. Boom, 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 boom. And I'll prep the question.
Yeah.
Next thing they're, oh yeah. Like that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Then they'll raise their hand.
Got it.
Or I'll tee up a problem that I know everybody tends to deal with.
Okay.
And then it kind of lowers their, fear of, oh, I was the only one thinking this. So yeah. I think as a leader, and this is where people need to understand this, as a leader, it is your job to get people to open up. Because most people won't. Yeah. Because of the fear of rejection. Simply that. It's usually the fear of rejection or the fear of losing money. Yeah. Like when you ask a lot of people that are thinking about doing things, it's twofold. It's the fear of rejection or loss and the fear of losing money. Right? So that's why they typically won't take action, because they either don't believe in themselves or they believe whatever they're about to do is not going to get them to where they want to go, like give them the outcome. So that's usually the two biggest fears people will have is, oh, am I going to lose a bunch of money? Or, hey, I totally believe in your program. It's everything I'm looking for. But then I'm like, well, why aren't you ready to go? They don't believe in themselves enough to actually, am I going to step F up? Yeah. Like, am I going to do what I say I'm going to do? Meaning you guys are going to do everything you say you're going to do. But do I believe in myself? Like, I'm going to step up. Yeah.
I love that we're the two real estate guys here in San Diego, but we're actually peeling the layers back because before you become ultra successful in real estate, I think you got to do you have to do the inner work. And it's very evident you've done the inner work. Okay, let's bring it back though. Okay, so Justin Brennan in his 20s on the come up, like, back then, did you believe that you would become successful in real estate and be coaching and doing all these things and have the capital company? Like, what was your mindset in your mid-20s? Did you think you'd make it?
Yeah, so let's step back in the mid-20s. So 20s, I just come out of college.
What college?
Pepperdine University.
Okay.
I was very blessed to go there. Originally, I was going to go to U of A to play baseball.
Oh, nice.
University of Arizona. And
I spent some time out there.
Yeah. And I loved it. Party school USA.
It's fun.
But that was part of the problem.
Yeah.
So I went out there with my dad. We toured it. And I was getting ready to sign a letter to play baseball there. Came home for the weekend. My dad said, hey, I want you to think about it. Come home for the weekend. Make a decision on Monday. And on Saturday, it actually received a letter in the mail to accepting at Pepperdine, which wasn't my first choice. I wanted to go to USC. I just got denied and went to Pepperdine, and it was incredible. Loved it. Came home from school. But when I came home from school, I didn't want to be like, hey, Dad, where's my job? You know, I could have done that, but I said, no, like, I want to go out and grind and figure it out on my own, have some success so I know that I can execute. So I actually worked in title insurance.
Oh, wow.
For about 3 years, from 2002 to 2005.
I learned a lot.
Oh, a ton. I mean, I think people think title insurance, they think it doesn't matter.
Oh.
And you're right, it doesn't matter until it matters.
Yeah.
it's like any insurance, like in case shit happens. So you don't really need title insurance, but you need it because then when you have problems, you really need it.
Yeah.
So did that for 3 years during the boom time of real estate, as we all know, in the early 2000s, and that was awesome. Then came out of that, went back to grad school for a couple of years, came out of that, and went to, at that time, to work with my dad.
Nice.
And that's where I learned the development space. Grad school helped me out with that and in learning the development and construction of commercial real estate.
That's what your dad does, or did.
Yeah, he did subdivisions, large subdivisions of, 50 homes, 100 homes, then maybe 200 unit complexes.
Where at?
Multifamily. Started in San Diego, then, different cycles took him into Idaho and then Las Vegas.
Wow.
I mean, he was doing Las Vegas, built almost 2,000 units in Las Vegas. So my history with Vegas is pretty good. I didn't realize
there's
that.
something else out in Vegas that you like too.
So my history with Vegas is pretty, I didn't realize this, but all the way from the late 90s and the early 2000s.
Wow, that's really
cool.
My
dad was traveling every Monday morning. He'd get on a plane at 6 a.m. 38 minutes later, he's in Vegas.
Yeah.
And he'd work till Thursday night at his office. Had a house out there near Summerlin. Get on plane, fly back Thursday night. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's here. Get on a plane Monday morning, do it again.
Yeah.
And he did that for over a decade.
It's like a bus ride.
Pretty much.
It's a
bunny hop.
Yeah.
And did that. And then he did Sacramento. He did Southern Riverside. And that's when the collapse happened. Yeah.
That's
Sacramento?
Yeah.
You're Sacktown?
Sacktown.
All right.
Well, Elk Grove, but
So he had a condo conversion in Elk Grove.
Where at? Do you know?
I think it was called
Elk Grove Boulevard.
Something like that. It's something like had Elk Grove, something in it. But yeah, It was a condo conversion.
Yeah.
That we did up there, like 248 units.
Wow.
And that was right when the collapse happened.
2009, 10.
Right in there.
Got it.
In 2008, 9 is when we were right in the middle of that conversion and the banks, everything collapsed. And then he had Roseville. He built a bunch in Roseville.
Love Roseville. Great market.
So he built 2 different complexes in Roseville, a few hundred units. And then Las Vegas, he had probably over 1,000, almost 2,000 units in Vegas built ground up.
Okay, that's awesome. So was he like syndicating these? So he'd go get.
I mean, technically syndicating. Technically, anytime you raise money, it's syndicating.
Yeah.
I mean, but most people don't use that term unless they're putting the whole private placement memorandum together, or securities attorneys, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, he was raising money. He was doing it with his money in conjunction with investors.
Yeah.
And putting deals together, and doing large condo projects and apartment complexes.
That's amazing.
So it was a combo of both with some single family subdivisions, and then he'd do some luxury houses and stuff. Okay. And that was all the way through the financial crisis until it collapsed.
Got it. Yeah. And so you obviously seen your dad like have to go through 2009. Has development ever scared you? Because you understand development well. Yeah. Would you ever get into development? Because I know you're more focused on like multifamily.
Yeah, so that was one of the things. I'm not against development. I'm against development in California.
Okay.
And on sale product.
Okay.
I will do development on rental product because I realized that everybody needs food, water, and shelter.
Yeah.
Food, water, and shelter. And more people rent than buy. And when you're in market cycles, especially in California, where it takes you 14 years to develop anything, you can get caught because you buy something today based on X numbers on selling it, and that doesn't happen. You get caught in a market cycle, and boom, party's over.
Got it.
Whereas if you're doing it under rental product, for the most part, rents are stable and rising, and supply is constrained because of the development problems. So your rents continue to stay stable and rise. And that's been pretty historical in San Diego. There's only been a couple instances where rents have actually gone down. So for the rent stuff, it's great.
Yeah. For
the for sale product, I know.
Got it. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah. As you know, AD development for me leaning into that.
But would I do development outside? But it's always going to be in the rental game.
Yeah.
I don't see myself doing build and sell large development product. We would do smaller, which we've done, like maybe 5.
Couple condos at the
Yeah.
beach.
But I'm not getting into a 50 to 100, 200 unit type
Yeah.
development build and sell product. It's just you're asking for it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
That's
gotta
all.
have you gotta have super deep pockets.
Yeah. Super deep pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Someday. Okay, cool. So you do multifamily deals outside of California. Where are your current deals? And tell us a little bit about the company that I guess you guys raise capital. I know what you do, but the audience,
Right.
they want to know what you do. So you raise capital, you go and buy deals. I see you on planes sometimes, going there, coming back, just like your dad, like father, like son. I love it.
I mean, in a way,
Yeah.
a decent amount of travel. And that's mainly because California, our money can only go so far.
Mhm.
I mean, we started here, but as time has gone on, the landlord tenant laws, business climate's been more challenging.
Yeah.
So you have to be tactful. I mean, you can still invest well, I would say, in Southern California. So call that Orange County South.
Mm-hmm.
Is good. Anywhere north of that, things have gone a little cray-cray. But, it's harder in California.
Yeah.
It's just in general. So we had to take our money outside of California. So we
What
started.
year was that? All right, everybody. This episode is brought to you by backyardcommunity.com. At backyardcommunity.com, we teach you deal, debt, equity, where you can find deals just like this one that I just bought, where I'm going to add 6 ADUs and increase the value by over $3 million. The community is growing daily. We'd love for you to be there. It includes 2 Zoom calls per week, video courses, step-by-step tutorials, and everything you need to get your first multifamily development deal done. So click the link below and let's get back into the episode.
2018.
Got it. Okay.
So we had started with one condo, $100,000 in the financial crisis, and then started buying duplexes and fourplexes. Did most of that with our own money up until the mid 2000s, and then started realizing, hey, for us to scale and grow, we gotta start getting into bigger deals and syndicate.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for our dollar to go farther, we had to go out of state
Mm-hmm.
and go mainly into the Midwest, like the middle part of the United States, call it.
Okay.
So that's where, now investing in Nevada and Arizona and Texas and Oklahoma and Missouri and even into Tennessee, which we're not there yet, but we're looking, and other parts of the middle part of the country
Yeah.
is where you can go buy things for between $50,000 per unit
Wow.
to maybe $150,000 a unit.
Yep.
Whereas here in San Diego, it's $300,000 a unit.
Yeah. That'd be a good deal at 300,000 a
Right.
unit. Yeah.
Yeah. So your dollar's going to go farther. And if you run them well, you can get good returns for you and for your investors.
Okay.
So that's how we were able to scale from, call it 20 units, which we owned here in San Diego, to now 557 units.
Wow.
And trying to go towards 10,000.
Let's go.
But that's all happened. Like we went from 20 units to 557 all within the last 36 months.
3 years.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
call it 2021 to 2024. So
yeah. That's great. So what's that assets under management? Over
about
100
157 million.
157 million.
Right. Which on the syndicating apartment game is nothing, right?
Okay.
When you go talk to some of these other people that are in much higher space, they have 500 million
Yeah.
or a billion,
Yeah.
right? Like the
Do you want to get to $1 billion?
100%. Yeah,
Let's
because I
go.
mean, there's some people I look at, call it, I think it's Ashcroft, with Joe Fairless and those guys
Yeah.
and his company. They have, like 13,000 units and about 2.8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you got Grant Cardone. He's at about 5 billion, and I think he has the same number of units, but he does A-class type
Yeah.
stuff. So, but yeah, getting to $1 billion, Elevate Capital, those guys, I know them well. They're at about 5,000 units and probably 500 to 700 million
Mm-hmm.
in assets. So, yeah, it can absolutely be done.
So as far as your team goes, because maybe there's some investors out there who want to get into syndication, what was needed on the team? Like there's your partner, maybe there's an analyst. What's the team look like to actually build this syndication company?
Yeah, so in the beginning, you have to go lean and mean. So
Yeah.
it was me and Chris, and then I started hiring outsource people that weren't under the payroll, but we were still paying on a monthly retainer. So I had an analyst guy that would analyze, you need to see a lot of deals then to like filter them down into one that you would actually do.
Yeah.
So I hired an analyst guy who would analyze everything from a high level, and I would just start shooting him deals, and he'd throw them into the simple spreadsheet to see if it even meets our basic metrics.
Back of the napkin,
yeah, back of the napkin.
Yeah.
Then if it meets the back of the napkin, then I'll start looking at them further and funnel them down.
Okay.
So that's how that started with the analyzation part. And then boots on the ground. I mean, as long as you have in the States, so usually what we would do is before we go investing into any market, I would spend a couple months up front traveling out there once or twice, touring properties, touring markets, touring areas, meeting the brokers, meeting the property management crews, setting up the construction crews.
Got it.
And that's in each market we're in. And I would do that a month or two in advance. So that way all the back end stuff is locked and loaded. So once we start to see deal flow and we actually start moving on deals, we're not catching our tail.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so in the background, so that's front of the house. I love that you're out there, you're doing it, you're hustling, you're grinding. On the back of the house, like, are you guys raising money actively, hopping on calls? Where are you finding those investors? Is it 401k money, SEP IRA? Where does the bulk of your guys' capital come from?
Yeah, so we started deal by deal.
Okay.
Right. And so people are like, oh, I want to start a fund. I'm like, well, you have to understand when you do a fund, your investors are people that are going to invest with you. They're investing on your strategy. So if you haven't had a track record of a strategy, it's very hard for somebody to invest with you or give you anything more than a soft commitment.
Got it.
Right? Because imagine this for a minute. If I was just getting started and I came to you, Chris, and I said, hey, I have a fund, a $10 million fund, and we're investing in real estate. You'd say, great. What are you investing in? Oh, we're doing multifamily, this, and this. And you're like, awesome. Well, do you have like a specific deal that I can look at? Because I don't know you that well yet. I don't, track record of doing this. So I can't like buy into your strategy yet.
Got it.
Because you haven't had a beginning and an end where I can actually see a track record. Easier to do on a deal by deal basis, because then I can come to you and I say, hey, I have this 50 unit deal in San Diego and minimum investments 25 or 50,000. Projected returns are 18 to 20% a year on your money. Who do you know that may have some interest? And then they're going to say, well, I may. Like, do you have something you can send me? Great. I'll send you the pitch deck on the deal. And here's this 20 or 50 unit deal. It's going to break it down for you. It's going to show you the actual property, how much money we're raising, where's your money coming into that, what's your projections, when are you getting your money out, how long is it in, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to answer 95% of the questions that you may have about that specific deal, and it's deal based. So that way it can attract the actual money. Yeah. Because otherwise you're just going to get soft commitments from people where they'll say, yeah, I'll invest with you when you have a deal. Yeah. You'll hear that a million times.
Yeah, that's so good because we've been looking at multifamily syndications out of state. Yeah. Nevada being one of them. Cincinnati, obviously spent some time out there. Texas.
Cincinnati's good. Ohio's a good market.
Yeah, we like it out there. Like I know the little pockets because I used to walk those streets. So we've been eyeing that. We actually were going after a deal out there. But where I was going with that is we did realize it was harder to raise funds for that. Now, I love what you just said. That was the golden nugget for me personally, is if I lean into my track record of ADU development, a fund for ADU development in San Diego, which is probably one of the best places to build ADUs in the US. Oh yeah. I'd probably have more success on a fund on that. And then I'm not competing with, say, multifamily syndicators.
No, why were you trying to raise money before you had a deal in Cincinnati?
No, this was we didn't have it under contract, but the gun to the head type thing kind of scares us a little bit. Like gotta close in 60 days. That's what frightens us.
Well, okay. So let's walk through that for a minute. Because I understand that's the contract time, and then you have extensions you can build into that. Yeah. But let's call it 90 days. Okay. Because you typically get 60 plus a 30-day extension. Yeah. And depending on the size of the deal, so this is where a lot of the mentee students come in and they get caught. Like everybody gets freaked out. They're like, yeah, I can find deals. We can show you how to do that. I can analyze deals. I can show you how to do that. And then they get to the money part. And they're like, I don't know how to finance. I don't know how to get the loan. I don't know how to raise the equity. Like I get bottlenecked and they stop. Yeah. Okay. And I try and tell them, I said, well, it starts with the deal first. Because if you have a deal that makes financial sense, raising the money is not that hard. But if you don't have a deal that doesn't make financial sense, raising the money is very difficult. Because if I came to any investor and I said, hey, I can produce 14 to 20% projected returns for you on your money annually, and here it is, it's a minimum $25,000 investment. Raising that money is not that hard if the deal makes sense and they trust you that you're not a fraud. So And you also don't want to, you don't want your raise to be too big for your first one if you don't have a track record.
Mhm.
So that's another thing people get at, because they're getting taught by these gurus out there to go after 50 plus unit deals on their
Yeah.
first ones. And I'm
Mhm.
like, yo, you have a better chance of breaking into the White House than you do of getting that deal and executing it and raising the capital and actually making it happen on
Yeah.
your first one.
Yeah.
So you need to stick 10 to 30 units for your first syndication apartment deal, 10 to 30 units, because you're dealing with mom and pop brokers, mom and pop sellers, lenders who will call you back. The capital size is small enough. You're raising maybe 300 to 600,000.
Okay.
You're bringing in 10% of that, call it 60 grand. You're raising
Personal funds.
Yeah. You're bringing in 10% of the capital stack. So if it's 600 grand, you're raising total down payment. You're bringing in 60K.
Yeah.
And then you're raising, call it 540K.
Mm-hmm.
So raising 540K from 25, 50, and $158,000 investors, you'll get that with 5 to 7 people.
Yeah.
On a deal of that size.
I like that. Basically, I always thought of it this way: on a syndication deal, as a syndicator, you can tie up the property with like an earnest money deposit, and that's your money. And then your job is to go.
And it's refundable, at least in this market right now.
Yeah.
It's refundable. Like the days of the non-refundable, earnest money are gone, because the market's a challenge now.
Okay.
So earnest money is fully refundable during the due diligence period.
Got it.
So usually that's 30 days. And then maybe you get an extension on that or something. There's always workarounds.
Okay. Let's talk about today's market, since you just brought up, so what are you seeing in today's market? I know I'm starting to see more deals. Obviously, we're talking about interest rates coming down. What are you seeing out there?
So in the commercial multifamily space, it's a shit show.
Okay.
Right.
Explain.
Because the capital markets are a disaster right now.
Okay.
They're getting better for financing, but you have to understand all of the headwinds that have been created because of all the deals that were done from about 2022, 2020, 2021 into 2022.
Yeah.
So that 2-year window, you had an enormous amount of deals done.
Yeah.
90% of them were done on variable rate financing.
Yeah.
Right? The value add. Brr.
There's some people losing a lot of money.
Yeah. So syndicators, who had never done syndication before, are now apparently experts. And so they went out there and they're chasing returns and they're buying these deals. And I'll be first, we were one of them on one of our deals. Thankfully, we are now in a position where we got out of that. But
how?
Well, let me explain it.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to talk about threading a needle.
Yeah.
We threaded a needle. Thank goodness it was only one.
Okay.
Because there's some syndicators out there that have lost gobs of money for themselves and for their investors.
Tides Equities being one of them.
Yeah, Tides is one of them. There's a handful of other ones. But they're still around. Tides is still around, but they've had to give properties back. All these things have happened, and there's many others. So you had a lot of deals done where they would buy the property. They would bank on, they buy it at negative leverage, meaning it doesn't cash flow today. But they're going to go in, renovate, and then make the property better with better rents later. So it's going to cash flow later, presuming you hit that. The problem is, everything that was done in 2021 and 2022, well, interest rates went up in 2022, as we all know, and they went, for us, we had a loan at 4.25% that went to 9.5%.
Doubled.
And we weren't the only ones. We were one of thousands of syndicators.
That's the floating rate debt.
Yeah. So you can imagine. And the reason why you do floating rate debt is because the fixed rate debt would not provide you renovation dollars for your deal.
Got it.
Right? So you would have to then raise that through more equity,
which lowers returns.
Correct.
Yeah.
So everybody was in there saying, okay, well, things are good now. We'll go ahead. We'll take the variable rate. We're going to renovate this thing in 18 to 24 months, and then we'll refinance it into fixed rate money then.
Once the NOI had increased.
And that's cute and a great idea. And it worked very well for several years until the interest rates go up.
Which no one could have predicted.
Well, we projected they would go up. We weren't morons. Nobody in their right mind would ever expect them to go up 9 times. I think it was maybe even 11 times in 9 months.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that was the crux, is we knew they would go up. So I projected in our numbers, they're going to go up a couple percent.
Yeah.
Let's bank that in. We'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. But not double in 9 months. So it makes your deals go upside down.
Yeah.
And so what's happened now, today, here in 2024, is all these guys who've been kicking the can down the road, they can't get out of their deals, and they can't feed the debt.
Yeah.
And so they're either handing the keys back or they're selling them at massive discounts, or they're trying to do some workouts. You're seeing some workouts. So if you're big enough, maybe you get some modifications done. But it is a massive disaster. And then you have a lot of these banks holding on to this bad debt that are not reporting it and not talking about it. And it's not being reported on CNBC. But all you need to do is go on cred.iq, and they'll show you all the bad debt loans out there in the multifamily space.
Wow. Cred.ui.
It's crediq.com. Crediq.
Okay.
So they track all of the debt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they'll show you all the bad debt, both in the office space, which we know is bad.
Yeah.
And then multifamily, which the delinquency rates are going up pretty drastically right now. So what that means is there's blood in the street.
Blood in the streets.
But that also means there's opportunity.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So how did you guys get out of the situation you're in?
So we got out by the skinny skin of our lucky skin. So we had a deal in Texas. We were about 60% done with the renovations.
Okay.
Things were going well. Rates began to go up.
Yeah.
So now I'm watching our debt service go from $40,000 a month to over $93,000 a month. And it's eating through the interest reserve. So when you do these deals, you bank in with an interest reserve to pay the bank while you renovate, so then you can refinance it later.
Got it.
So that's all banked into the total cost as an interest reserve to pay the loan each month. Well, when your interest reserve, when your cost per month double, you're going to eat through that interest reserve a lot faster, which means you need to move faster.
Got it.
Otherwise, you're going belly up.
Yeah.
So I saw that coming, and I saw that we weren't moving fast enough on the renos, and we weren't getting to where we needed to be from an occupancy standpoint.
That's why I saw you on Southwest flights, just flying out there all the time.
So I ended up making a call in January of last year, in 2023.
Okay.
As I saw it coming, I knew we had to refi. I'm like, we have to refi by the middle of this year, or we're FUCK'd. So I called my business partners and I said, guys, I said, what do we do? I said, here's the situation. You know, what do we do? And they said, Justin, are you willing to move out there for a little bit?
I didn't know that, but I love it. That's what it takes.
And I said, fuck. I said, how do I do this? I said, my family, kids, relationships, what am I going to do? And I had to make the call.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving out starting in January for a month.
Wow.
To the property on site, lived in our model unit. We had a model unit
That's
on
epic.
site.
Yeah.
Lived on site in the model unit. And was bird dogging that deal every day with the staff. And they didn't move fast enough, so I fired half of them.
And
I brought in. Well, they didn't like it.
Yeah.
They didn't like that I was micromanaging. I said, well, it's not your money, it's ours. So I said, you're going to do it my way or peace out. And I said, if you don't do this, I'll step in and run it myself. I'll run it myself. And then you'll see the greatest well-oiled machine you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And we got it done.
And
within 6 months, we had the reno done. I had occupancy up to 98%, delinquency down to 2%, renewals all done, everything locked and loaded. We got the refi done 7 days before the 10-year treasury went through the roof. And we slid that thing right across the finish line. And our loan guys, with Walker Dunlap, we got it done. And they called me the next week. They said, Justin, that was the greatest show we've ever seen in our entire lives. They said it was so good that every single one of our operators that are running into problems getting refinances done right now because they're not willing to step up.
Yeah.
We're using you as our example.
That's good.
And we've talked to a couple people who are so like they're blown away that an owner would move out to his own property.
That is insane.
Live on site. And I said, well, you have to understand from my perspective where my mind was going. We had $7 million in the deal with our investors.
Yep.
And these were family friend investors on top of people we knew and didn't know. These people, first time investors with us. So I'm looking at it like this has to go, because if it doesn't, the rippling effects long-term for us with future growth and future investments, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And then I had things going on in my mind with my dad thinking, well, my dad went through this in 2008.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm going, no mother effing way.
Yeah.
So I said, what do I, WIF or whatever it takes. WIT.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. I got that freaking hat.
I have never heard you talk about this story, and I'm
WIT.
so happy you did.
WIT.
Because whatever it takes.
Whatever it
There's
freaking
a
takes.
book by the
Yeah.
writer of Blackstone. I forget his name. One of Grant Cardone's mentors, and that's what his book's called. Whatever it takes. And you did that. You literally moved out there. That is amazing. I love that.
And I will do whatever it takes because
Let's go.
most people, and this is what's frustrating, and I can't expect the property managers to run at my pace. It's not their money. It's not their property.
Mhm.
Right? They're going to do their job. But I did ask them. I said, I at least expect good.
Mhm.
I'm not asking you to be me. You know,
Which is great.
right. I'm like, yeah. But I'm like, I can't expect that. But I should expect good.
Yeah.
And I said, if you guys aren't willing, I'm showing you what to do. I'm telling you what to do. All you need to do is actually do it. Like, you don't have to think.
Mhm.
Like, I'm captain driving the ship. You just need to row the boat.
Yep.
And you can't even row the boat. So I said, next.
Yeah.
And I said, let's bring in. So I went through 2 property management companies to get to the 3rd one.
Mhm.
And I'm it's frustrating sometimes. And we're still battling with that property mainly because of market dynamics now.
Hurricanes or something?
No, just generally speaking, people have to understand what's going on because of inflation, because of cost of housing, because of cost of expenses, because of cost of everything. Everybody's paying up the yin yang on all their expenses. And so they don't have a lot of dry powder sitting there. So every month people, we're maybe the fortunate ones, but there's 60, 70% of this country that, and I don't understand, but I get it. They're borderline paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm.
And so when you have a hiccup, any hiccup, you can't pay your rent. So now you're seeing across the board, not just across the board in certain markets, delinquencies up, evictions are up, rents are flatlined. So when you have revenue on these properties flatlining and decreasing, and then you have expenses increasing, that margin is now squeezing. And so now properties are getting cash strapped. They can't pay their bills. You're seeing massive problems happen where the debt service can't, which is why you're seeing delinquencies rise. So you're having major problems across the United States. And I would say mainly in the Sunbelt states, but probably others. And so you're seeing cash strapped properties in the short term. So you got to hold on to these things if you can.
Yeah.
As long as you have good debt and you can just break even at the moment, hopefully make a profit, but break even to get to 2026, because 2026 game's going to get better.
Yeah.
Big time. So buy right now, because 2026.
That's kind of my buy box and strategy here in San Diego is if I can break even on the existing rents to service the debt, and in the background for the first 6 to 12 months, I'm working on the plans and permits to build these ADUs, then I'm sitting pretty. But if I'm
so that's what you're doing now is you'll break even. Okay.
If I'm breaking even, I'm good. If I cash flow a couple $100, $1,000, great. If I'm losing 1,000, I can live with that. But if I'm taking a 5,000 hit per month, I'm like, okay, next. Won't even look at it.
So you'll float those until you get the permits and the ADUs and everything done.
Then we'll go ground up. We'll build them and then just hope and pray that rates are down and we could cash out refinance. If we can't cash out refinance, at least not have to cash in refinance.
Right.
Like
you can service the debt still for a period of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and their lenders will extend and work with you, I'm presuming, if things get.
Yeah.
They don't want to. As long as the property's operating, I guess.
Yeah.
And at least paying itself, hopefully.
Yeah. I took a page out of your book and actually moved into one of my properties 2 weeks ago. But
there you go.
But it was in Pacific Beach, so I wasn't complaining.
It's not too shitty.
Yeah, it's good.
Is that where you're at now?
That's where I'm at now.
Okay. And are you going to stay there? Like, what's the plan with that? What's the plan of attack?
Yeah, so we're cash flowing on that deal. We're breaking even right now. I'm paying rent at my own property. I have a partner on it. We're 50-50.
Yeah.
And we're building 6 ADUs. There's a house in the front, duplex in the back, and an open space in the middle.
So you're helping pay in the front and keep some cash flow moving
have some tenants in the back.
while you build.
Yeah, we're remodeling one of the units. And so, we'll break even, build 6 ADUs, take the 3 unit to 9 unit, smoking deal, create $3 million of equity. It's amazing.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And then rates should be in a better position when you're done to refi.
Yeah, when I'm all done, I'll refi. I plan to keep it. So we're not going to be super leveraged on it. We will probably want to keep as much cash flow as possible and just pull out our original equity and maybe a little extra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the model.
Yeah. So I want people to do multifamily. I want the ADU game is great. But yeah, those are the kind of the challenges going on in the market right now.
Okay.
people that are worried about the election stuff, I tell them, guys, there isn't a single president that should be dictating how you do in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that's the case, then you're creating that.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, I can go back and I thought about this. I'm like, let's think about all the presidents, whether, one side or the other. Have they actually truly affected my ability to do what I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because even with taxes, this, that, different policies, blah, 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 there's always workarounds.
Yeah.
If you notice it, like all of the politicians they'll set a policy. Taxes are going up, but then they build in a loophole.
Mm.
This is happening. Build in a loophole.
Yeah.
Everything has loopholes. And they do it because that way they can take advantage of the loopholes.
It's true.
They all do it.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest F show you've ever seen in your life. And I
Yeah.
laugh at it because I'm like, guys, I got news for you. Whether it's Republican or Democrat, they're not doing any of us any good.
Yeah.
So just keep your blinders on, stay focused, treat people well, work hard. You'll be fine.
There's the election coming up in San Diego, and this guy just popped up on my Instagram page. I think his last name is Turner. He's
Okay.
an independent guy running, ex-policeman. But it was interesting to me. He's not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. And I was looking at his Instagram page. I'm like, this guy might win, which I think is cool. I DM'd him. I'm trying to get him on the podcast. I think it'd be pretty cool.
So local politics can have an effect.
Yeah.
So then maybe that's the caveat I should have mentioned. Local politics, you can actually move things that will affect people. The national level, I just don't think as much.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, everybody. That wraps up this podcast. Unfortunately, the camera's cut off right when I was asking Justin about his love life. So you guys will have to ask him about that or find him in future podcasts. You can find Justin on Instagram through official Justin Brennan. He will also be all over my feed in the coming week, where we'll be posting shorts and reels. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.